And welcome to another edition of the Living Large Theater Podcast. Billy Santiago, along with my good friend Gary Rodriguez of 35 years, and also our super producer, Noe Ayala, Living Large Theater at gmail.com. You can get a hold of us at. We're available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, and also the iHeart Podcast Network. If you want to be a sponsor of this fine show, give our producer Noe a call, 956-451-1633, and please, before 10 o'clock, and make sure you rate our podcast after you listen to it, share it with a friend, and leave us a comment, all right?
All right, Billy, thank you, man. This is the Living Large Theater Podcast. Admission is free. All you need is a sense of humor and a thirst for knowledge and entertainment. You talking about knowledge and entertainment. Our special guest today is none other than Chef Larry Delgado.
All right.
Larry, thank you for joining us. I want to make sure that everybody knows that Larry has awesome properties of restaurants and attractions and destinations. He doesn't do it alone. He does it with his partner / wife, Jessica, and we want to make sure that Jessica is duly noted as a big part of everything Larry does. Larry, welcome to the show. What do you think, man?
Thanks for having me.
Yes, brother. Yes, brother.
Amazing morning. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I couldn't do anything without Jessica. She's often said that I'm the lifeblood of our organization.
Yeah.
If that's true, then she's the heart that
the heart that beats it going.
That's right.
There you
That's
go,
right.
man. I like that. Give us a little background on yourself. So right now we're in McAllen, Texas. So we're in the Majestic Studios, and we want to thank Ward Thomas, our benefactor, for allowing us to use his beautiful studios here. But I know a little bit about you, but I know that a lot of our listeners, check this out. Noe has a way of tracking listeners. I don't know how they found us or who they are, but we have 3 consistent listeners in Spain, and we're consistently rated at about 3,000 total listeners at any one time. But this is worldwide, so the people that are listening right now probably don't know Larry Delgado. Give us some background.
Well, where should I start? I was born and raised here in Edinburg and in the Valley.
Yeah.
My parents were farm workers growing up, and most of our family was, and I guess that was something that I gravitated to as soon as I graduated high school. I went to Edinburg North High School, and when my friends were going to college, I don't really remember quite the reason, but I was going off to work.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do everything that my folks had done and try my hand at farm working for some crazy reason.
Yeah, well, that's probably what you knew at that time.
Yeah. And so I moved up to Indiana, and I did that for a stint for a couple of seasons. And they say, what do they say? Every experience is a learning experience. Well,
Yeah.
I learned one thing there, and that was that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life.
In the cold.
Yeah, exactly. And so I moved back to Texas, and Austin. I found Austin. I wanted to get to Austin as soon as I could, and I figured that's where I wanted to get my education. And lo and behold, I got in the workforce and started working in a full service restaurant. And
That's awesome. That's awesome.
found my way.
Is that how you developed a passion? Because first of all, for you that don't know, and I didn't want to bring it up right away, but this is the gentleman, this is the chef that beat Bobby Flay. So your passion led you to eventually compete and beat Bobby Flay. But is that where you developed it, in Austin, in the full service restaurants?
I think so, but I think it started. My first job was flipping burgers in Edinburg.
Yeah.
In the summers and at night after
You're
school.
a humble guy, man.
Got to start somewhere, right, Larry?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. My uncle used to say something to me that always sticks with me. My dad's oldest brother. He says, "Sé humilde y tendrás recompensas."
Yes.
And that's stuck with me my whole
Good.
life.
That's good. I think humility keeps your feet on the ground.
Absolutely.
And it keeps you approachable. And, you could have easily said, look, I'm too busy. I'm running 3 restaurants. I don't have time to do your podcast. But every step of the way, you were very accessible. You were always acknowledging the request that we had put in to have you here, and we really appreciate you being here. And that goes to show that you still adhere to your uncle's sage advice.
Sure. Yeah.
That's good.
Well, thanks. So yeah, flipping burgers. I still remember the rush of trying to just bang out a service where there was tickets just coming in, and so that rush was always has stuck with me.
When did you know? Okay, I was meant to be a chef.
Yeah. So I left the Valley and went to Indiana, and what I found there was that I really didn't have a connection to food until that experience, tasting.
So what'd you do in Indiana?
Oh gosh, I did a number of things. Mostly, I was there for detasseling corn and harvesting tomatoes.
Okay.
Oh wow!
And then I did every odd job that I could possibly pick up.
This is at 18, 19 years old?
I was 17.
17.
I was 17 years old. I turned 18 over there. I graduated high school at 17, turned 18 there, and bought my first car and drove it home.
That's awesome. As a chef, you are really tasseling corn. I wouldn't even know what that means, but as a chef, you are intimate.
You.
As a chef, you're intimately knowledgeable of what all the ingredients are that you use in all your dishes.
Yeah, it started with the tomato. It started with tasting the vine-ripened tomato right off the vine. I mean, it was something that we did when the harvester stopped and we were taking a break. You take a drink of water, grab a tomato, rub it off your shirt, and we even carried a little salt shaker with us on the harvester. Just take a bite, add some salt, and the flavor of those tomatoes was like no tomato I ever had. And it wasn't until that moment that I started to really understand food and production of food and how it gets to us and what the difference is between what you buy at the grocery store and what you get fresh off of a farm. And it really started to pique my interest. And once I got to Austin and I worked in a full service restaurant that was making meals from scratch, it all started to just come together.
Right. What is it about Austin? It's such a foodie city, isn't it?
It is, and it was, and it always has been. I think that Austin is a place where it's just this cultural diversity there is always.
Boy, that's a very
blended.
diverse city.
Yeah.
That's a very diverse city.
So it's blended for all sorts of cuisines and
Have you ever met Aaron Franklin?
I have.
Nice.
I have.
Franklin's Barbecue.
Right.
That is good.
Yeah, I always said I wouldn't wait 6 hours in line for barbecue.
But you did, right, Larry?
I didn't, but I'll tell you what. Jessica and I were at an event in Austin called Live Fire years ago, and he was there, and he had a booth that he was tasting out of, and damn it if I didn't wait an hour and a half.
But you didn't wait 6. Hey, let's talk about your restaurants here. Let's start off with House Wine Bistro.
Yeah.
Beautiful concept.
Thank you.
The staff there, I don't know how you do it, man, but your staff is so well trained, and they're so kind. I've been there. They don't get flustered. They're very helpful, and they're approachable as well. How did y'all come up with that concept?
Thanks for the reminder. I have to remember that for the most part, our team is. We have a fantastic team.
Oh yeah, indeed.
It's still challenging these days to as workforce has been depleted to continue. It feels like we're starting over. Month over month. When we're training a team with or staff with no experience. But we've always embraced that idea. We've always embraced the idea that there's no experience is necessary. All we need is somebody that has a passion for people and a genuine heart.
And a willingness to learn.
That's it.
And be coachable.
Exactly. Available.
Yeah.
Engaged and gracious are the 3 words that we use to describe what the
Boy,
person
they do
that
it.
we're looking for. They got to show up and be available, be part of the team, be engaged in the team. Showing up just isn't enough. You got to be engaged, and then gracious, coachable and approachable and amicable, all those things. But a long time ago, Jessica, when we opened House Wine, I guess we came up with this tagline. It's going to be 15 years in October that we opened the House Wine.
Congratulations, bud.
Thank you.
That's good for a restaurant. I mean, that longevity is kind of rare in the restaurant business.
Well, we're excited to be celebrating that this year. But it went something like sophisticated and refined, but approachable and unpretentious.
Yeah.
And so that's the approach we take, not only to the atmosphere and the service that we offer the customers, but also to our training and who, we don't want to be smug, and we don't want our servers to be, this
standoffish,
right? Too pretentious.
Yeah.
Overly pretentious. It's in our uniform and in the decor.
Yeah.
In the plateware and the chairs
and the attitude toward the customer.
Exactly.
I can tell that your staff appreciates and respects every customer that goes in there, no matter if they're sitting by themselves or a table of 12, no matter if they're spending $20 or whatever a table of 12 might ultimately spend there. Your staff is always appreciative that they walked in the door, and they're very respectful of their wants and their needs and their desires and their expectations.
Oh, thank you.
And their expertise on the wines and everything that's around there, too. I tried some of the, lemonade, something that the gentleman was pitching out to me. I was like, bring it. I'll try it. And you know what? I saw a picture recently, real quick. There's restaurants around here, too, as well, that have closed.
Yeah.
And they've changed names and so forth. And
the consistent one is House Wine Bistro.
Exactly.
That is good. What do you?
Thank you.
How would you describe your fare there? Your food. What are your plates? Because I've had the calamari. I've had numbers of the dishes there. They're all good, but they almost seem like they're quasi-Mediterranean based.
Yeah. That's how it started, and we didn't really have an identity. We called it New American because when we opened the kitchen in 2009, we opened House Wine in 2008, and many people don't remember that we were a furniture store / wine lounge, and we didn't open the full service kitchen until 2009. That's when we became a full service restaurant.
You had furniture and wine.
Oh yeah, we were trying to get the hell out of the restaurant business.
That's awesome, man.
And so what happened? What
drew us back in. It's what we know. We started cooking. Really, that's what really happened. It was we started doing these little fun events that to pay the bills.
You did a lot of catering early on?
Inside the restaurant, we did we did these events called Dinner and a Movie, where we just put a movie on the TV on the VCR actually.
Oh wow!
And not a VCR, sorry, but a DVD. We had a DVD player.
Okay,
they're one and the same now, right? They're both obsolete.
Right.
Yeah, they're both. I know because I'm looking for one.
So we'd play a movie, and then I'd theme a menu up around the movie.
And who would go? Just anybody?
Yeah, we'd get like 25, 30 people, and we'd pay the light bill for the month or something, but everybody loved the food.
Was it by invitation or walk in?
No. We just, gosh, I don't even know if we use social media.
That is awesome. That's a good concept.
I think we just put a poster up and said, "Hey, come on for dinner and a movie on Monday nights."
Yeah.
And Mondays were kind of slow. And there wasn't a whole lot of traffic, so we got to do something on Mondays. And like I said, it was 30 people for 2 hours, hour and a half.
They were having a blast.
And we do a 3-course meal. We did old movies, fun movies like Three Amigos and The Goonies and Casablanca. And the menu would be themed around
Blazing Saddles.
Jessica wouldn't let me play Blazing Saddles. That was the first one that I wanted to do.
That would have been a good one.
She's like, "No way, you're crazy."
Hey, we're talking with Chef Larry Delgado. He is the guy that beat Bobby Flay. Gary Rodriguez, Billy Santiago, super producer Noe Ayala. We're talking about his first restaurant, House Wine, located in McAllen, Texas. Stop by. You will not be disappointed. Larry, I've met Milton there. I've met Ken there. I've met Chantel, Aisha, Zoe, the bartender, and like I said, it's almost like you crank all of them out from the same mold, which is a mold that should not be thrown away because they all exemplify what you're saying right now, being approachable, unpretentious, but at the same time caring about their customer.
You just named all their superstars. You know, they do a fantastic job, and I could take if I could duplicate or rather clone a few of those names, we'd be great. But yes, you know, they our team, our people. That's what makes us. That's what put us on the map. And early on, it was Jessica. It was Jessica at the front door.
Yeah.
Greeting everyone. She knew everybody's name. She still does. I mean, she walks in. You ought to see her work the dining room floor when she gets in.
I bet.
People can appreciate that when they go out to dinner.
Yeah.
And the host still knows their name, you know, and that makes somebody feel good. Like, hey, they know my name here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, Jessica started it all, and you know, she developed this front of the house training program, along with a few others that came along the way that have been with us for some time. Priscilla, you know, there's a handful of individuals
that have been with you for a very long time, and they're still part of your core backbone.
That's right.
Before we talk about Chef Larry's second restaurant, Salt, I want to note that you guys are very involved with the community. I know you do a lot of things with the food bank of the Rio Grande Valley, and you know, it's one thing to just take, especially when you're in your type of industry where it is hard. And you do have slow nights, and you have to figure out a way to make things happen. But and I think it's very telling that you guys are also giving back. You're involved with a lot of the community agencies here, the nonprofits, and I think we should give you a big round of applause.
Thank
and
you.
Want to make sure that our guests and our listeners know that. Let's talk about Salt. That's a little bit farther north of House Wine. It's actually on Main Street.
Main
Street.
Main and Beach.
Main and Beach. Talk about the concept of that, how it works, why it works, and what people say about it.
So you asked me. I don't think I answered the question, but House Wine. What's the cuisine? It started out like Italian and Mediterranean, because that's what I knew. That was where I came from.
Yeah.
You know, I spent 14 years in an Italian restaurant, same one in Austin, and so that was comfortable for me. But we found early on that there was a lot of our favorite foods that we love to eat. I mean, Jessica and I lived in Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin, and we traveled a lot before moving back here in 08. So there's a lot of foods, our favorite foods. We couldn't find them here.
Yeah.
So we just started adding them to the menu, and so the menu got all crazy. You know, where we had these Italian dishes, but then we had this French, you know, duck confit or escargot, and pork belly, and you know, even I think the only restaurant that I knew of that was serving, you know, different proteins that were, you know, a little bit off the wall or a little bit off the norm was Bistro M, Chef Marcel.
Oh yeah, on 10th Street.
Down there on 10th.
Yeah.
Other than that, you know, if we wanted something that we enjoyed in some of the other cities we lived in, we just had to make it.
Yeah.
And then we'd put it on the menu, you know, ossobuco and whatever, all our favorite dishes.
Wow.
And so the menu just started to grow and morph into this thing that didn't have a whole lot of continuity. And I started to just separate the Italian from the rest.
Yeah.
And that's when Salt was born, the idea for Salt.
I got you, yeah.
And so we called House Wine New American, but really I wanted House Wine to have this Mediterranean and Italian feel to the menu. And so the New American became Salt, where we could have this diversity of culture within one menu, but still make it a cohesive menu. So at Salt, we say that we take a global approach to local sourcing. We've always tried to buy and support local farmers and local ranchers.
Very important.
And as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's
What's your prime dish there at Salt? I know y'all do a pretty good pork chop, right?
Oh man, that Jessica always says that'd be her last her last dish if she was on death row or whatever, right? But the pork chop is very, very popular. Fried chicken's really popular. And there's a funny story about the fried chicken too. I never wanted to put it on the menu until we were in California, Napa Valley, and one of the chefs that I looked up to and studied prior to opening Salt was Thomas Keller and Michelin star chef, and Jessica was like, man, your fried chicken's so good, you got to put fried chicken on the menu. Put a fried chicken on the menu. I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing fried chicken.
Yeah.
And we were in Napa Valley, and Thomas Keller's restaurant was serving fried chicken.
Is that his restaurant? French Laundry?
The French Laundry. Well, we were at Ad Hoc, so he's got 3.
Oh, wow.
Ad Hoc, Bouchon, and the French Laundry. We couldn't get in the French Laundry. It was like a 3-month wait list or something.
Wow.
Crazy
Oh,
like
my
that.
goodness.
And
Wow.
So the fried chicken is very popular, but again, it's just approach to different cultures that we can play with. It's like a chef's playground. You know? That's what it started out as.
So your fried chicken, I love fried chicken.
Yeah.
Do you brine it first and buttermilk?
I'm not going to
He's
tell
not
you
going
any
to
of that.
tell you.
Come on, Larry. Come on, Larry.
He's not going to tell you.
Is there a special spice you use, Larry? I mean,
There is.
hey, I'd love to tell you.
You got to go try it, Billy.
Damn it.
You got to go try it, Billy.
You said you had listeners in Spain, man. You know how many of those things I sell in a week?
Hey, so your clientele, are they consistent with between house wine and Salt, or does your clientele differ at all? Are they are one of them more upscale than the other? I mean,
The price point at Salt's a little higher.
Okay.
But the clientele's the same. I think we share the clientele, which is one of the reasons that a lot of people thought we were crazy.
That's where I first met Milton, was at Salt. Yeah.
Milton's one of those gems, one of the few that has worked at all 3 of our concepts and been a part of opening them all and training those teams so there's a handful of faces that you might have seen at all of them.
Yeah.
He's back at House Wine now.
Yeah, and he's a great musician too.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I think the clientele early on, we saw that it was the same. It's just people wanted a choice, another option. And as I mentioned, I think our banker was one of the first ones back then that said, "You're crazy. You're going to open another restaurant less than a quarter mile away?
You'll be competing against yourself.
You're going to cannibalize on your own." I said, "No, it's a different restaurant. If I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it."
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, here we are. We're 10 years.
10 years.
Salt's been open for 10.
I was going to say 8, but yeah, you're right, 10.
So 10 years later, if you look down Main Street, there are a ton of concepts. I mean, between House Wine and Solomon on Main, at one point there were 13 restaurants.
Yeah.
And back then there was nothing. It was Roosevelt's.
Right.
Between House Wine and Roosevelt's, it was Salt.
Yeah.
And so, it's just a true testament to the idea that if we didn't do it, somebody else was going to do it. So
Sure.
Why not? And it's a completely different concept. So people can go to one and the other and have a different experience, food-wise, but they're going to have the same level of service.
Yeah.
That we pride ourselves on.
Oh,
that we hang our hat on.
You definitely deliver that.
I'm Gary's a wine connoisseur, and we were out to dinner some time back, and a friend of ours who owns a restaurant in Chicago kept calling his wine steward, "Hey, we're getting ready to have this for an appetizer. What wine would you recommend?" Do you have that kind of thing going on with the bistro, where your wine steward, I would try this if you're going to have this?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's almost on daily, and we pride ourselves on the idea that we'll give you a taste of any bottle. We sell them all by the glass, or most of them anyway.
I'll have a taste of all of them.
All of them.
Well, when we opened, we had we had like 150, 160 different wines, and it didn't matter what the price was. We would give you a taste of all of them.
Nice.
Yeah, whatever you wanted. You wanted a taste of it. I mean, we'll sell it anyhow. We had people
Right.
like guys like Milton on the team that
Yeah.
if you didn't like it, well, they're going to let somebody else taste it and somebody else taste it, and that became kind of a unique thing that was being done at House Wine at the time, because people could feel confident in
Well,
the idea
they
that-
want some suggestions.
Yeah, but not only that, they want to make sure that before they spend $60, $70, $100 on a bottle of wine, that it's something that they're going to enjoy, and not just a taste to ensure the quality but that they enjoy the flavor.
Yeah. Yeah,
because
and
there's
the
a
value.
difference. Right.
Talk about Salome on Main.
That was Salome was a huge passion project of mine.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I know you've, with the heat down here, it's kind of hard to have people sitting out on the patio, but you've specialized it into almost like a special events type of destination now.
That's where we're at now. But the idea for Salome really came from our travels at House Wine. At Salt. I mentioned to you that we did, it was a global approach, right?
Yeah.
And somewhere around 2014, 15, I realized that my career had gone like way far left, and I didn't really understand why. I grew up in a Mexican household. It was my first love. It was Mexican food. That's the first cuisine I learned how to cook. And here I was, years into my career, 2 restaurants, and I didn't do any Mexican food.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand why I went that route. I mean, I guess I do understand, but I didn't understand why I felt that Mexican food was less impressive than say Italian or French or Asian, right? And so in 2015, I took this trip down to Mexico City. I'd never been to Mexico City before. It was my first time. And one of my chefs that worked with me at Salt he was from there. He says, "Come with me. Let's go to this big show and a food show, and we'll eat our way through Mexico City." I said, "Yeah, hell yeah!" And I tried Mexico City's street food for the first time, and I tried these old, pre-Hispanic. Went to pre-Hispanic restaurants that were serving things like escamoles and gusanos. Escamoles are ant larvae.
Oh, wow. I know what gusanos are.
And huitlacoche, all these indigenous foods of Mexico. And my focus just turned. I said, I came kind of full circle. I need to do Mexican food. But how do I do Mexican food different in McAllen, Texas, where there's a Mexican restaurant in every corner?
Mm-hmm. Everywhere.
And so the approach became then to do interior Mexican. So I took a trip to Oaxaca, tasted moles. This was I was with a group from the McAllen Chamber of Commerce when we were discussing the beginnings of Mexlan, and I met a chef, Abigail Mendoza.
Uh-huh.
She trained Diane Kennedy. She trained Rick Bayless. And
some of the big dogs.
Huge names have gone through Mexico to train with her. And I had the opportunity to just hang with her in her kitchen for an afternoon. And then ultimately, a trip to Guadalajara where I drank tequila on an hacienda overlooking these huge rolling fields of agave.
Oh, yeah.
And it just came together, It's like, I really got to do this. I have to bring a different approach to Mexican food that can be elegant, and an approach to tequila that is also elegant and sophisticated, and isn't just the lick slam suck that we've known. The salt, lime, and shoot the tequila. But there was a newfound appreciation for tequila for me that most people like you have for wine.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And so I decided that needed to be shared. And that's how we opened Salome.
That's amazing. That's a great story. And I tell you, the clientele there that I've spoken to, they're just waiting for your next special event, because you do put together special tastings or pairings or showcasing the tequilas or the certain liquors.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, coming out of the pandemic, with the workforce and labor force, the way we were, pretty much depleted, became challenging to keep all 3 restaurants fully staffed. I mean, it was impossible. We were perpetually understaffed for about 18 months or so, maybe 2 years.
I discovered your food at H-E-B during the pandemic.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I was going to compliment you guys on that.
Every time I would go, I'd get at least 2. The lasagna.
Yeah.
My wife makes good lasagna. She'd love your lasagna.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Hey, hats off to you guys for pulling through the pandemic. A lot of restaurants closed down, but when I saw your meals at HEB, I go, pretty smart. They're going to make it.
You know, we didn't have a choice. I had 145 employees, and as I mentioned, the passion for people that has to come first. It would have been really easy.
Yeah.
To just lock the doors and say, hey, we'll pick it up a little bit later, but. You know, there's 145 people that are dependent on that paycheck.
Yeah.
We got to keep it going.
And I'm sure from that experience with HEB, you probably added some new clients once we got through the pandemic. And they go, well, we got to go down to the restaurant and check it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Larry.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You know what, too, Larry? I also saw that when you put table down there, so that whole area just boomed with other little. You were mentioning earlier the restaurants and so forth. It just grew, and everybody knows that area is a art district now, and it's just amazing how it just. And everybody's always looking for some kind of little property in that area too.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. No, that it was like an anchor, and it was like the impetus to making those other restaurants show up there. So I think House Wine, Salt, Salome have really put the great food, great service, great drinks, great value, great experiences on the map. And we're going to dive into what I wanted to talk to Larry about so much, in addition to his properties and his great service and the food and the drinks he serves, is how the hell do you beat Bobby Flay, man?
So let me tell you, it's the process of getting on one of those shows is pretty lengthy. There's a lot of interviews with their producers and you know, FaceTime interviews, and they want you to send them recipes and make sure you're the real deal. And
Yeah.
so I remember one of the last interviews, I was trying to figure out what our dish was going to be. You know, what dish are you going to bring to the show?
Yeah.
And I started spitting out all the favorites, the pork chop, you know, the garlic lime shrimp at House Wine, the mole at Mole Verde there at Salome, or I'm sorry, the Mole Negro is what I wanted to do. The estofado was a braised short rib with Mole Negro. Oh. And they're like, okay, can you do that in 45 minutes? I said, no, 45 minutes. They said, well, you only have 45 minutes. If you get past the first round, you only have 45 minutes to cook against Bobby Flay. And it just dawned on me, right? It's like, oh yeah, there's no cut. There isn't any interruption.
Right, you're cooking for 45 minutes.
45 minutes, and they're filming it all, and that's it. And you get it done, you get it done. And so the producer starts spitting ideas out at me, right? She says, you ever, what did she say? Have you ever cooked carne asada? And I shit you not, my reaction was, fajita? Yeah, only every other weekend since I was 14.
Yeah, they just don't know up east, you know.
So carne asada, it was, you know. I said, yeah, I can do that. I'd love to do that. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, yeah, Bobby Flay is a grilling guy. That's his thing.
Yeah.
He's known for.
But his is Southwest flair too, right?
Right. And so I said, I can't let a kid from the Rio Grande Valley get beat.
Hell no.
On a grilling competition, especially with fajita, right?
Boy, you had your work cut out for you right there, man.
So I did. You know, we had to elevate it, and so I added a tamal. I did a mole verde. I did what else was on there? Like a corn relish, reminiscent of a pico de gallo, just a little different and plated differently. And I practiced. I was on another show with a Guy Fieri show that I wasn't prepared for, and I walked in with a little bit too overconfident. And I didn't make it past the second round.
Is that the grocery one?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, that show really humbled me because I feel like if you give me a box of ingredients, I'll make you a dish. But if you give me a whole grocery store, my mind just went blank. It's like, oh my God, the options are limitless here. And so it took me forever just to figure out what I was going to do. And I didn't really understand fully the format of the show and how it was going to going in. I just figured I was going to rely on my cooking skills, and that's all I needed. But it really wasn't. And so I left there. I was beating myself up about it. And when I got the opportunity for Bobby Flay, there was no way that I was going to walk in the same way.
Yeah.
And so, I called up friends of mine and said, "Hey, can I cook in your kitchen? I just need 45 minutes."
Yeah.
So you took it serious.
I did. I'd take all my ingredients and I'd tell my friends, put them somewhere, put them away, wherever, in your fridge, put them in the fridge, put them in the cupboard, put them away. I'm going to walk out. I'll come back in and start the timer, and I'm going to make you all a beautiful meal.
Because that's time too, where you have to go get the ingredients.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And so I did. I probably did that 4 or 5 times, 5 or 6 times actually.
Wow.
And I was ready. I was laser focused, man. When I got in there, once I got past the first round, actually, I was doubtful I was scared that I wasn't going to make it out of the first round, because at Guys Grocery Games, I cooked a giant pork chop, right? And I took a lot of criticism from the judges for picking a piece of meat that was so big, and I was like, well, what do you expect? I'm from Texas, right? But then we go.
Did they say it wasn't cooked right, or
it took too long to cook?
Okay.
And then so I get to Bobby Flay, and they give us another giant piece of meat. So I took it off the bone and filleted it out and made scallopinis out of it. And I took criticism from judges. They were like, "You got this beautiful giant piece of meat, and you didn't cook, and you took it off the bone." I was like, "Oh, I can't win for losing, right?"
Yeah.
But I made it through. Thankfully, the flavor profile that I put out was good enough to win. And then and when it came down to
that
the final,
alone, getting to beat, winning that round of it, that says a lot about your abilities, because the chef that you competed against had to have been equal to your talent and your experience and your vision for what you wanted to serve to the judges.
Great guy. He had 3 restaurants in Colorado also. Mark, he's
really
an exceptional chef. So that was probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
That was harder than beating Bobby.
Yeah. Hey, so any thoughts of doing Iron Chef?
No. No, it's on the Little League now, and focus on my kiddos.
There you go. That's awesome.
Are you a coach, Larry?
I am. Yeah.
Man, I coached my son in the Little League through elementary school. It was the most fun I ever had.
Yeah.
Man. I was the team scorekeeper, and I tracked where hitters were hidden, and I positioned the kids out in the outfield. That's so much fun.
It is. It's a blast, and just see their faces, out there, and
that's awesome,
how they
man.
progress from one season to the other.
So you have balance in your life, and it's just your life doesn't just revolve around the restaurants. You have balance with your family, your community, and yourself and your wife.
Well, I've got to work at it.
Yeah,
but we strive for it. We try really hard. Sometimes it's not there, but yes.
Yeah. Well, as long as you're working toward it.
You have that partnership with your wife, man.
Right.
That's so important. You guys are in it together, and that's awesome. And look at James Beard, semifinalist.
Yeah.
Congratulations, sir.
That was huge.
Well, how did you, when you got the call?
I was driving. I was on my way to Brownsville, and almost drove off the highway.
Wow.
I got an indication, a text that came on my screen, and it said congratulations from Jay Ducote. Jay's a chef out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and he's also a James Beard finalist, and he also beat Bobby Flay, and he was down here years ago, did an event with me and with Chef Adam Cavazos out of Bodega at Salt. And he was a judge on one of the competitions I did in New Orleans, or an MC a long time ago, too, in 2014. We've kept tabs, but to get that message from him, I was like, "What? I maybe messaged with him twice a year, and here it is. Congratulations!" I'm like, "What did I do? What's he talking about?" And so I had to look, and this is James Beard. What?
Explain to those listening. What's the James Beard Award?
Well, James Beard Foundation is the epitome of...
That's the Super Bowl of culinary.
Absolutely, right? Yes.
Wow.
They give out awards every year based on, across the industry for wine programs, bar programs, sommeliers, restaurateurs, service awards, chef awards, and their awards are based on region across the United States, and it hadn't been. Gosh, it hadn't. I don't know the last time someone from South Texas was nominated prior to us being nominated. But
Nice.
now we've seen Las Ramblas in Brownsville, and their bar program were semifinalists for. I think they were finalists. They made it one more round past what we did, and another restaurant in Mission this year.
Oh, wow.
So
we're on the map
We're
now.
on the map.
There
Yeah,
you go.
so we're
Awesome.
here.
Let me ask you this. How did beating Bobby Flay help or, I guess, showcase you as a chef and your properties? I mean, was there something positive that came out of that other than, the recognition of being on television and beating such a great master chef? What did it do for your properties?
Well, it boosted my ego. No.
Nothing wrong with that.
Gosh, I feel like we weren't able to really capitalize on that a whole lot. It's neat, it's fun, it's a great conversation to have. But I don't know that we were able to really monetize that experience because we've filmed in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
The world turns on its head 4 months later.
Yeah.
And 2 years lapsed before it aired. And so there's a non-disclosure that we have to sign. And so during those 2 years,
You couldn't say anything.
Can't say anything about it.
How hard was that?
You know what? It would have been, it was hard in the beginning, but gosh, with COVID and the shutdown and all that other nonsense.
Yeah, it took
forgot
a
about
back
it.
seat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Took a back seat.
So as we're coming out, one day Jessica just asked me, she says, "Hey, did you ever hear anything from Bobby Flay?" I said, "No, not really. Maybe they're not going to air it because I kicked his ass." But
Well, congratulations,
Yeah.
because you know what? You can say, I beat Bobby
I
Flay.
beat Bobby Flay, man.
oh man, I got to tell you, oh man, I don't know if I can, but
Absolutely.
all right, I'm gonna.
Absolutely. We're with Larry Delgado, Chef Larry Delgado, the guy who beat Bobby Flay.
So the end of the the end of the show, I'm super pumped. I was jazzed up, and they're like, "You got to run over here to this X, and this big camera is going to swing around you, and you look into the camera and you follow it, and you say as loud as you can, 'My name's Larry Delgado, and I just beat Bobby Flay.'" And I said, "Oh yeah, I got it. I'm in. I got it." And I was just so overwhelmed with emotion. And here comes the camera. I said, "My name's Larry Delgado. Me chinga, Bobby."
Oh,
And the producers, they stopped and said, "What does that mean?" I said, "It means I beat Bobby Flay." Very good. Now let's do it in English. Damn, they didn't hear that.
did you become friends with Bobby? Did you already know him, or
I didn't know him. I didn't know him, and I still don't. I just got a brief interaction with him, but you know what? He gets a lot of people ask me all the time, "Is he a nice guy?" Because he sounds and looks like kind of a jerk. But he was really nice. He was really gracious to Jessica. She ran into him in the hallway after he was doing the walk of shame. And he stopped and had a nice conversation with her. It was very nice, very gracious.
Yeah, I've heard good things about him.
Yeah,
but I've heard better things about you. Hey, Larry Delgado, the guy who beat Bobby Flay. As we close out the Living Large Theater podcast today, would you please give us about a 45-second or to a minute, or take your time. Welcome to whoever's listening to come to see you and enjoy the experience of being at any of your restaurants. Here he is, Chef Larry Delgado, the guy who beat Bobby Flay.
Wow, with anyone listening, I invite you to the Rio Grande Valley, to McAllen, Texas, to indulge in our unique cuisine, and not just the cuisine at my restaurants and the culture at my restaurants, but really the culture of the Valley. We are a place like no other. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. I couldn't imagine doing business anywhere else. And I believe that the experience you get from the people of the Rio Grande Valley and McAllen is a unique one. I often say that living here is a real pleasure, and traveling is great. And I wouldn't live in any other city, but I love traveling there, but I love coming home more. So to anyone listening, come on down, enjoy our cuisine, enjoy our people, enjoy our culture.
That's awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Chef.
Larry. Appreciate
Chef
it.
Larry Delgado, the man who beat Bobby Flay. Thanks a lot for coming on the Living Large Theater podcast, my friend.
And you are living large.